Hi everyone, it's Kelly from Kellie's Bead Boutique. So I've been making and teaching how to make jewelry for a very long time now. And one of the things that I hear all the time is, you make it look so easy. Well, that's because I think it is. So I'm going to take some simple parts and some simple techniques, and I'm going to teach you how to make your very own jewelry. So if you want to see what I'm making today, come and join me. This is part of my Refresh and Remake series where I take an old video and I come up with some new colorways because maybe the kits are old and we can't get the parts, or it just needs a refresh. And this is one of my videos from literally 4 years ago. It was May 31st, 4 years ago, that I put this video out, and we have sold 1 million of these 4-strand barrel knot bracelet kits. But the colors were getting a little tired. The color that I actually used in the original video sold out pretty quick, and they discontinued the red beads, so I could never remake that one. So I've come up with 4 kits for some new colorways. So what I'm going to do is show you the kits, and I'm going to show you how I constructed these because they're different than the original video. I will then attach the original video to the back end of this. Maybe you've never seen this video. Maybe you've never seen these kits. So it's a good time to get a refresher or see something new. So I haven't come up with names for all of these. I've just come up with the colors, but by the time you get this, I'm sure I will have some fantastic little names. So for now, this one is our turquoise and red. And so in the original one, I used a lot of O beads and things like that. So on each one of these, they're a little bit different, and I will explain how I constructed them. So if you want to make your own, you can do that. So on this one, we have our beautiful turquoise Picasso, and we have the red Picasso 6/0 seed beads, and then I have this it's a sort of a pewtery color seed bead. So in your kit, you're going to get enough to make a larger bracelet. So I think on this one, I've done, let's see what I do, 5, 10, 15, 20. Okay, so what I did was I did 20 of the turquoise, and then I did a silver, and then 3 reds, a silver, 2 blues, silver, 3 reds, a silver, 2 blues, a silver, 3 reds, and then a silver. So this is kind of like the part that will sit on top of your wrist. And then I did another 20. But you'll have enough of the blue to add onto this, because I will put the size of these actual bracelets in the listing. Like I will measure them and see exactly what this will fit at this size. So you may have to add or subtract a little bit on the blue. And that's probably where I would do it and leave all the fun part at the top. So this has got the antique pewter button, and it has the 1mm antique black leather. And then I just sort of embellish it in any way that I kind of like it. You can do your own thing down here. If you don't like these little things, you can just leave it with leather. You can do whatever, because when you buy our kits, this is just a suggestion, but you can, do whatever you like. If you decide that you want to move this all the way down, you can do whatever you like. So this is the turquoise and red one, and I'm not sure if this one is my favorite. I love that color combination together because, I love the turquoise. So that's the first one. So our next combination is sort of a triple color. So this is the blue and the yellow and then the chartreuse green in the Picasso. And then I've also added that same sort of antique pewter 6/0 seed bead. This has the antique brown leather, and again, it has the silver button. So on this one, I have a little bit of a different pattern, and I'm telling you the patterns today so that if you decide to buy one of these kits, you'll know how I constructed it and not be going, well, what did she do? Because it is a little bit hard to kind of figure out the patterns just from looking at them. So on these, I started out with a silver button, and then I did, pardon me, I'm still trying to get over this sickness that I just acquired. So I've got 5, 10, 12. So I did 12 of the blue, and then I did a silver, and then I did 3 of the yellow. I'm just trying to make sure I'm on frame here. And then another silver. And then I did 5, 10, 15, 18 of the green, and then a silver, 3 of the yellow, and a silver. And then I repeated the same amount of blue. So this is the part that's going to sit on the top of your wrist. So if you wanted to change that pattern up, you know, again, it's your piece. You can do whatever you like. You can change that up. But when I put it on, I thought that was very, very cute. So again, you will get enough beads to make a larger bracelet. We always add more so that you will be able to increase the length if you like. And I will make sure to put the size of this particular one in the description so that you know the sizing on this one by, you know, I've counted the beads, so now you'll know exactly what size that one is. So now this one I think might be my favorite, which is unfortunate because, you know, I make these things up and then I go after the fact and go, oh, poop, we can't get them anymore. So we are going to have very, very limited amounts for the time being on this. I would imagine it's going to sell out probably immediately. It's these cream colored beads that are going to be causing me the problems. But I absolutely love this. And I'm not even a big fan of yellows, but it looks more like a tanny sort of yellow. But this is such a beautiful color combination, but of course they're out of stock and we have to wait to see if we can get them back in. So I will have the amount that are available loaded on the website when you first look at this video. And if there's none available, that means we're trying hard to get them back in stock. So this one is matte opaque cream. And then we've got the yellow Picasso. And then I've also used a Tierra cast spacer that has a large hole in it that goes over top of the antique brown 1mm leather. And this has antique bronze metals with it. So the pattern that I did for this is 8s. So I did 8 of the white and then 1 of the metals, and then 8 of the yellow and 1 of the metals, and 8s back and forth. So on this one, we will give you, I think there's 1, 2, 3, 4 groupings of white of 8s, and then there's 3 groupings of yellow. We will give you an extra run of yellow so that if you have to add to it, you will have more yellow. So this won't sit in the middle, it would sit off center. But you could change this from 8 to maybe 10 or something like that if you wanted to keep the middle part, the yellow. So I hope that's making sense on how you can, you know, change these up a little bit. And then on the end, I didn't add any metals. I just put beads. So again, you'll have enough beads in your kit to kind of do whatever. And yes, you do get a barrel knot tube whenever you buy these. We get that question asked a lot. So that is the yellow and cream. Isn't that pretty? I'm just going to do that and admire it for a second because I really like this one. All right, and last but not least, we have kind of a unique color combination here. So this is, I can't remember which color, if they call this the Montana or the Cobalt. Anyway, it's a really beautiful blue Picasso. And then I've mixed it with this really pretty sort of orangey Picasso. It's a saffron. And then I've mixed it with some O beads. So the way that I did this one, so I did 5, 10, 15, 20. So I did 20 of the blue, and then I did 3 of the little, I think they're a jet bronze O bead. So I did 3 of those, and then I did 3 of the saffron, and then I did, so I'll hold it like this. So then I did 1 of the O beads and 3 of the blue, and then another O bead, and then another 6 of the saffron, and then 3. So that's our pattern there. We've got 3, 6, 1, 3, and then the remaining in the blue. So again, you can completely change that up if you like, but that's the way that I put that together. And on the end here, I did 2, and then an O bead, and then 2, and then an O bead, and then another 2 of the saffron. So there you go. There's the 4 new colorways that I've got for our 4-wrap barrel knot bracelet kit. And I think these ones are kind of fun. The other ones have seen their day. We'll still keep them on there, at least 2 of them. And so there you go. So I am now going to run the old video behind it. I may edit a couple things in it, but I think it was pretty self-explanatory the way that it was. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please make sure to give me a like and leave lots of comments, because I want you to tell me which one is your favorite out of all this color lot. And please make sure to subscribe to my channel. So thanks so much. Enjoy the video, and we will see you on the next one. Okay, so what we're going to use today is about 2 yards of leather, and this is I think it's called antique gray color. I've got a lovely little tiara cast here in the antique brass, and I've got a couple different colors of Picasso 6/0 seed beads, and I'll make sure to put in the description the number and the name of them. And I also am going to use some O beads for a little bit of a decorative sort of pattern here. I'm also going to use a tube for doing my barrel knots, and I use a little bit of GS Hypo glue at the end, and pretty much the only other tool I'm going to need is a pair of sharp scissors. All right, so let's get started. So the first thing I'm going to do is make sure that I've got 2 equal lengths, thereabouts, of leather. So I just took my 2 yards that I had and I cut it in half. I'm then going to take my leather and I'm going to run it through the shank of the button. And I suppose you could use a button that didn't have a shank, but I like to kind of hide it a little bit. So I'm going to find my ends and I'm going to run down and get my button towards the middle. And this doesn't have to be exact, but I do like to have it fairly centered. Okay, so now I've got 4 pieces of leather there. So I'm going to do a barrel knot. So what I do is I take my little tube and I place it on my leather, and I sort of squish it between the 2 different sets, like I split it 2 and 2. Now I'm going to take the furthest most one away from me, so the outer one, and I'm going to pull it down towards me. And then I'm going to wrap it around once, and I'm always working towards my left hand. And you'll see that I kind of grab it with my fingers so that I have some control. I'm going to take it once, twice, 3 times, and 4 times. Now I'm going to make sure that I grab hold of that little knot because I don't want it to fall apart. I'm going to take the end of that and I'm going to put it through the back side of the tube, and you'll see that it comes out the front side of the tube. Now I'm going to pull the tube out, and it's not going to be needed again till the end. And I'm going to pull this down. You see I'm still holding on to the knot so you can't see it, but I don't want it to fall apart. So now there's my knot, but it's way far away. So this is the piece that I was working with, so I'm going to sort of put that in the back there, and I'm going to move it down with the other ones. Okay, so you always want to make sure that you're moving it with the ones that you didn't wrap with, and when you want to tighten it up, you then use the one that you were wrapping with. So I sort of get it where I want it, and I want to give about, I don't know, 1/4 inch gap there, making sure that all the wraps are nice and neat. And you can see I'm not pulling it fast. I'm doing it nice and slow to make sure that everything's the way I want it to be. And that's looking pretty good. So I'm going to give it a nice little pull. Okay, so there's our little wraps. So now what you want to do is make sure that on your ends that you have cut them at a nice sharp angle. Even though that this is 1 millimeter leather, it still can be a little bit hard to get into your bead sometimes. So I'm going to do just a little bit of a pattern, and I'm not going to make you watch this whole part. I've got through the magic. I've already got one made up, so I'm just going to show you how I do this. So you can do any kind of a pattern you like, whatever tickles your fancy. That's, you know, it's completely limitless as to what you do. Oops. So I've got 6 of these really pretty Picassos on there, and then I'm going to put on 3 of my little O beads. And O beads are great because, oops, they're falling off my fingers. That's what always happens, right? Okay, get on there. They're nice because they're so small on the outside. They make it looks like a great little spacer. All right, and then I'm going to put on 3 of this. See, that one's got a smaller hole. Sometimes they'll have a smaller hole, and I just put those ones aside and I use them in another project. Okay, now I'm going to take one of the spacers and one of the original ones, another spacer, And then 3 more of this really yummy sort of turquoise color. And I'm just creating a little bit of a pattern, and I'll show you what my pattern is here in a second, if you haven't already been able to figure it out. I've got 6 of my lighter color 6/0 seed beads, and then I've got 3 of my O beads, another 3 of my turquoise seed beads here. I've got an O bead, and then I've got one of the original colors and another O bead, and then I've repeated that with 3 and then 3. And then so I would just follow that all along, and I would do that on all 4 pieces. And it's kind of a really nice little pattern that repeats nicely. Okay, so I'm gonna switch over and show you the one that I've already completed. I've got about 5.5 inches of beads on here, but you can make it to fit your own wrist. So you can see I've just repeated the pattern along until I've come to the end. And I don't really care that it doesn't start and stop with the same color beads. You know, it doesn't really matter when it's on your wrist. Okay, so now I'm gonna do another barrel knot here to close these up. So because we've got so much extra cording, it doesn't really matter which one we use. So again, I'm just going to sort of lay. I'm then going to take my little tube and place it in between the 4. So I split them in half. Now taking the outermost one, I'm going to reach behind and bring it towards me and go around once, twice, 3, and 4. And you can see when I bring it around the 4th time, what I do is I grab it from behind and I'm bringing it up and around. If you pull it from behind, you're only going to end up with 3 wraps. So you have to bring it up to the front and then back through the tube. So I'm going to take it and put it through the little tube. And we do have these tubes available on our website, and I'll put a link to them because it's one of the most asked questions is, where do I get the tubes? So now you want to make sure that you keep your fingers on top of this knot so that it doesn't fall apart when you pull that little tube off. Now you're going to pull that out. And now you can see that they are going to probably move around a little bit. So what I do is I get them all sort of shored up, and then I move this down. We have to make sure that's the one that I was knotting with, so I'm going to pull that off. Now I'm going to pull these down a little bit. And it's a little fidgety, but you just kind of move them around with your fingers. Now what I want to do is make sure that they're all approximately the same length. It doesn't have to be perfectly even. Just the way that this bracelet works when it's on, it doesn't really matter if it's even, but I don't want to have a big gap. So I'm going to sort of adjust it a little bit, and then I'm going to start to do up this knot. And once it gets a little bit tighter, then I can just have a quick look. Any of these that need to be pulled up, I can just pull up the leather a bit. There we go. And that's the one that tightens it all up. And I do pull it fairly tight, but you want to be careful with this 1mm leather. It's not that it's super fragile, but it can break on you. Okay, so now I need to make a hole for my button. So what I do is I just sort of place it in here and have a little look to measure, and I need another little knot about here. So I'm going to repeat right about here. So I'm going to take my little tube, place it between my leathers. I'm just going to split that so it's halfway in between. I don't think it really matters, but that's just kind of the way I'm going to do it so that there's some consistency for you. All right, I'm going to take this outermost one and I'm going to wrap it around once, twice, 3, 4, and then I'm going to place it through the back end of the tube. And now I'm going to just have a little look. Looks like it needs to come down just a little bit. And then right before I tighten it up, I'm just going to double check again to make sure that that button fits through there perfectly. And that's nice and it's tight, but not too tight. You don't want to ever stress your leather out. Okay? So that's pretty good. So now what I would do here is, because bracelets do take a fair amount of punishment on your wrist, I would take a little bit of GS Hypo and I would just sort of separate my leathers and put a little dab right in there, and then put a little dab. I just sort of find the inside of the knot right there and put a little dab. I just put a little tiny bit right now because I don't want a big wet glop while I'm working. And now we're going to embellish the ends. Okay, so now I'm going to embellish the ends. So all I'm going to do is make a little bit of a pattern, and you can kind of do whatever you like. You can start your dark colors first or your light colors or whatever works for you. And I'm just going to put a few on here. So I'm going to maybe try 3 of my light colored ones. And sometimes these little O beads can be a little tough to get on. One thing with check glass is they're very similar, but sometimes they can have a little bit of inconsistency to them. So put a couple of those, a couple of the blue ones. Yeah, and that looks kind of nice. So then what I'm going to do is create just a tiny little barrel knot on the end there. Take my tube. Now I don't have a whole bunch of other leather. I'm just going to do it on the one that's single. So I'm just going to take it and hold it next to it and wrap it around just 3 times because I just want a small one there. Put it through the end. And pull it out. Now I want to make sure that I get it positioned right where I want it. And then I'm going to pull it tight. Okay, so now you can leave a little bit of a tail in there, like you could start it down here and have them really dangly, but I like it like that. So I'm going to just finish this up and then I'll come back and show you how to finish the end of it. Okay, so now you can see that I've finished embellishing, and I'm just going to do one final barrel knot just to make sure you know what you're doing with these. So again, I'm going to go around my tube once, twice, 3 times, always working towards my left hand. Take my little tail, put it through the end, and pull out. And just kind of make sure that's where you want it. And then tighten that up. There we go. So now I'm just going to take my scissors and trim these all off. If you wanted to, you could add a little charm in here somewhere. I would maybe leave a little bit of space if you wanted to add a charm. And I like these just sort of twisted once and then put on so that they're not like completely perfectly straight. I think they have a little more interest. And then you can do that up. And there you go. There's our 4-stranded wrap bracelet.